Hello, everyone. I'm Hitoshi Abe, and thank you very much for opportunity to share the story about the Archi-Aid. And I'm very happy to be part of this event from the completely, other side of the world. So let me share my presentation, and hopefully, can you see it? I hope. Okay. I wish I had been here in a different state of mind. Still, unfortunately, my heart is broken due to the horrible fire in Los Angeles that destroyed so many places I admire. I wish that the path towards our urgent recovery can be set as soon as possible, and every victim can recover their own life soon. And it's still a huge mess in LA, and 12,000 houses were lost, and still actually the area damaged. People cannot go back. But this makes me feel very strange because that also when I stood there, it reminded me of my experience from 14 years ago in Japan, when I just landed at this Sendai airport and looking at the area that I'm familiar with completely destroyed. And today I'd like to talk about community resilience and also the trials that the Archi-Aid faced. I mean, basically, it's a story of Archi-Aid. So all started uh, March 11th, 2000, uh, 13, 12, 11th. And basically because of the huge earthquake, like the largest in the recorded history of Japan, uh, happened at this uh, sort of a near Sendai inside of the ocean, and then created a huge tsunami. And you can see that the entire coastline of the northern part of Japan are damaged. And devastation was so huge, so that at the end, actually, more than 20,000 people were killed. And probably the cost of the economic damage was about 25 trillion Japanese yen. It's almost quarter of the annual national budget. And the worst thing was actually because the tsunami destroyed the Fukushima nuclear plant, that it affected the area so badly. And it took us really long time to recover from there. Um, these are the really nice but horrible photos showing day after the tsunami, taken by local newspaper Kahoku Shimpo. And people kind of of course, had to stay in this shelter and spend very much sort of scary nights. Um, Everything was actually destroyed, but the Japanese government moved quickly. But it still took 2 weeks to recover the, many utilities like electricity and water and gas, or the gasoline, and um, it for the 2 weeks, it was very hard for many people to find the basic need of the life. And um, the area, of course, there's no sort of authority maintaining the social orders and so on. However, um, the people in this area showed such a incredible resiliency against this sort of confusion, the mess, huge mess by the disaster, and they were helping each other. This community was mostly the main industry was agriculture and the fishing industry, and also there's a high population of the elderly, and it consists of the small sort of a community, most like a villages and a small towns. And maybe because they still kind of maintain this old Japanese sort of a community bond, sense of community bond, so that they really supported each other. And also there are many volunteers came in and then delivered the food and so on. I'm sure this is a case that happened in your community as well. And also the people waited patiently, you know, in a long line to receive uh, food and water and voluntarily actually maintain the social order. And there's not many confusion or horrible crime happened. And but I heard that actually some people had to wait on the line for 6 or 7 hours to get just a can of gasoline. So I think what's very much remarkable and what saved this, this situation was again the very strong sort of a resiliency against this kind of a social disorder, shown by this community in this area of Japan. And the reason why is, there are many reasons, right? That historically, maybe the Japanese has this strong sense of community, but also the very simple fact is that they are used to be exposed to this kind of disaster, especially earthquake. It, it's kind of sad, but also it is true that 20% of world's earthquake, I mean, maybe more magnitude more than 6.0 or greater, happens in Japan. And historically, the Japanese city is being destroyed and rebuilt, and we are continuing this kind of a cycle of destruction and reconstruction. Um, I was actually in Japan when it happened, and um, I'm sorry, I was in Los Angeles when it happened, and because so many people knew me as an architect in Sendai, I received so many email worry about me or offering help. So I told these architects basically maybe it's not me who need the help, but maybe we can do together to do something better. And immediately, many architects got together. I think we actually launched this idea of Archi-Aid within almost like a week. The first meeting of Archi-Aid took place actually 5 days after the tsunami happened. And then immediately, around maybe over 200 architects decided to participate. And then we formed this Archi-Aid. Archi-Aid has actually three objectives. One is building a multifaceted platform to support regional reconstruction and development through an international network. Second, revival of architecture education, development of practical reconstruction education service. Third one is accumulation and illustration of disaster knowledge. So Archi-Aid did so many projects. This is only the project happened in the first year. And um, many architects, together with the students, went on the site to help the community to basically recover. Of course, there are many architects who help to build the building. And this is some example that they built together with the student, the kind of a little actually shack for the fishermen. This is a prototype that being proposed by Atelier Bao. It's a house for the fishermen, can be maybe the first, it's going to be very minimalistic, small one, but gradually they can actually expand it. And then eventually it will become really nice house. And the first one was built with the support of generous donation from United States. Or this is actually the recovery housing designed by myself. Um, I don't get into the detail, but there's a little design trick trying to basically increase the interaction of residents and trying to recreate the community being lost due to the disaster. Or this is done by architect Kojima-san, and this is a temporary structure to host a community gathering to discuss about the future of the community with the resident. But not only, but the most important actually function the Archi-Aid was to help community to think about the future or to put together the vision of the future. Many cases, the Japanese government actually had a put their hand into the disaster area and then sent sort of a specialist from Tokyo, and then they started to do this kind of a big sort of a mechanism of creating so many new communities. But at the same time, the problem of that was it was a little bit hard for local residents to sort of think that kind of reconstruction is action to create their own future. Of course, it's very important to build whatever they lost, but at the same time, it is very important to use such opportunity to build their future better. So, but a local resident or the community didn't have such kind of a mechanism. So we went in as a volunteer to help them to visualize their future. So, interesting example is this activity in the Oshika Peninsula. It consists with small fisherman villages. And as you can see here, there are so many sort of a little community, and many university led by architects went in and then worked together with a local resident and then did the analysis and then tried to learn local context, and then started to propose to or visualize the future, how this future of the local area can be. And this is an example of Ayuka Mahama. Because the devastation was so huge and so many areas need to be actually reconstructed, it was hard for the central government to adjust the method to the unique condition of the local site. So they tend to do very much cookie cutter kind of a scheme. So we came in trying to pick up the local context and try to project sort of a vision of the resident to the future plan and counter propose some idea. So the one on the left is the one proposed by the consultant hired by the local context. They just slash the whole landscape and then make a flat land and then put the houses. The one on the right is the one counter proposal by Archi-Aid, so that this one sort of filling the same function and the volume, but utilizing the or respecting the local landscape and trying to sort of minimize the impact to that. So there are many sort of effort that actually the done by the Archi-Aid. And sometimes it's a very small project and then creating little base, with a student for the local residents to gather, or this is the effort by Momoyo Kaijima, and she helped to kick off this fishing professional school. So that way, the knowledge of the fishing can be actually told to the young people, and then hopefully they can help to actually establish the local industry, which is fishing. Not only building, helping to recover the community, but also it was important to also help the government to think about the system. So instead of like the inefficient, unfriendly system on the right-hand side, we try to actually somehow be the bridge between the government and the local resident, and trying to be the good mediator. And there's many sort of a reconstruction plan support was actually developed through this effort. So this is a case of Ishinomaki and then Kamaishi. And together with the local government, we could actually initiate many projects. And also, interesting thing is also the support we provided to form the design competition of the public facility. The the many sort of public facility was damaged, such as schools and the hospitals, and also it was very necessary to have many housing. And the problem is, if you just try to build it as it is, then again, it's a lost opportunity. You have to kind of design those public facility looking towards the future. So you can't just build the school as it was. It's very important to design the school looking at the 10 years or 20 years from then. So in order to do that, that we kind of encourage the local government to do the competition, and then we work together to provide the briefing of the competition with future-looking vision. So there are a couple of building was done, including nursing schools, and then junior high schools, and then many sort of recovery housing. Also, important thing was how we can take this opportunity to reconstruct the architectural education. We think that the architectural education can be benefited by involving students into the reconstruction effort. And we did also a series of program. First of all, for those students who actually suffered in the area learning about architecture, we invited them to Tokyo, and then we did this kind of a internship program. And also summer camp I mentioned, many students went there and worked together with a local resident directly. And this is a program we call it summer camp. And then students stayed in this local elementary school, and for a week they worked together. And then they continued to work after they went back to Tokyo. And this is a case of Ogatsu, and student went there and then did the research about the local context. And again, this is another workshop for elementary school kids to learn about the fishing industry. We invited also the victims of area to Tokyo, and then ask them to share their experiences and the local issue they are facing. Of course, also there are many international schools came in, and then we tried to actually we hosted many international workshop to think about the way to kind of help the local community internationally. This is an interesting project called Lost Home. They Professor Tsukihashi actually started to build the scale model of the community being destroyed. And then it's a white model, then they invite a local resident to paint the building they used to live or they used to use. It becomes a really interesting therapy for local residents to regain their sort of energy, but at the same time, this kind of a memory helps them to actually think about the future. And this type of model was built so much. This is a picture of the workshop, and then it's just I don't remember. He did like 200 community or something like that. And then there's a huge exhibition held also about the lost town. Lastly, it was very important also to keep the record of all the reconstruction effort. And there are many books produced, basically recording the context of the community and the history and also the vision that the local community can share. This is another example. In this case, they wrote some sort of a manga, cartoon. So Archi-Aid was set to be ended after 5 years. And we did so many projects, and as a culmination of Archi-Aid activity, we actually put this thick book together and then did this huge symposium. There are many projects been, I don't know how many been done, and some ended as just a workshop or some sort of a study or proposal. Some are realized. Some are very successful. Some was failure. But I think this effort by Japanese architects were pretty well done. And again, the problem of this such a disaster is the loss of the community. The loss, not about the loss of the physical environment, not the loss of the stuff they had. This kind of a disaster basically destroys the tie of the people, and many people moved away and so on. So it's the most important thing is to sort of regain the community by giving hope to the people. And what we learned through this is that architects are very positive people and positive profession, and we can actually, or we are maybe the only one who can kind of give a hope to these communities so that they can sort of believe that there's a better future coming in. This is it for today. So thank you very much for listening.